Welcome to Hot Flashes and Higher Self, the podcast where midlife becomes your awakening. I'm Soraya, a clinical hypnotherapist and rapid transformational therapist guiding women through perimenopause and beyond, embracing transformation rather than just symptom management. Each week, myself and inspiring women in wellness will dive into mindset shifts, somatic tools, spiritual practices, and the candid stories that move us towards our limitless selves. So, if you're navigating perimenopause, menopause, or simply just wondering what's next for me, then you're in the right place. Let's rise together, mind, body, and spirit. This is Hot Flashes and Higher Self. In today's episode, I'm joined by Bhupi for a deeply honest and insightful conversation about menopause, nervous system regulation, emotional healing, and what midlife can awaken in us as women. And we explore how the body can hold on to years of stress, responsibility, suppression, survival mode, and why for so many women, midlife becomes the point where those old ways of coping simply stop working. And Bhupi shares her own personal journey through menopause, identity shifts, and emotional overwhelm. And we talk about the powerful connection between the body, energy, intuition, and healing. This is a conversation about listening more deeply to ourselves, understanding what our symptoms may be trying to tell us, and recognizing that this stage of life is not the end of something, but often the beginning of something far more honest. We also explore self-care, boundaries, people-pleasing, the nervous system, and why it's never too late to reconnect with who you really are. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, disconnected, exhausted, or as though midlife is asking something new of you, I think this conversation will really speak to you. Let's begin. So, hi, Bhupi. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here today. So, before we start, could you just share a little bit about your journey, personally and professionally, and what led you into this work?
Honestly, I came into this work through like the back door. I wasn't looking for energy healing. I was just trying to survive without completely falling apart. I stumbled into energy healing just by accident. And within a few sessions, my back pain was gone. And honestly, my mum noticed before I did. She said I was walking differently and I hadn't complained about my back in a while. And honestly, I didn't even clock on that this had happened. And it took my mum to say, you don't have the pain anymore. And I'd had it since I was 18. I injured my back and it got worse after I had the kids. I tried everything. And my chiropractor wanted to fire me as a patient because I kept ignoring his advice and pushing through anyway, like we do as women, right?
Yeah.
We've got so much to do. And that was literally the beginning. I started working on myself, then other people, mostly women, but men, domestic pets and horses, homes and kids, cars, you name it, I've worked on it. And the results
So,
just
sorry, Bhupi, what was the last thing you said you worked on?
Homes and children and cars of all the things.
Cars.
Yeah, cars.
That's what I thought you said. Actual cars.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I had one client, her car just kept breaking down and she couldn't figure out why. And you know how your energy just stays from the previous owners and stuff. So it was
Yeah.
just like there were a lot of fights in there and the car just kind of took on the energy. And then once we cleared it, she never had a breakdown again after that. But anyway,
Wow.
and honestly, the results just shock me because they keep showing up in different ways every single time. So I've stopped expecting a result because I don't know what it's going to be. So before of all of this, I was a henna artist for 30 years. And through that, I started teaching the art of mandalas as a tool for breath work. And that's actually where my healing journey began. When I sat down to really think about when it started. And there's something when you sit down with a mandala, the repetition, the breath, the focus, it's very meditative.
For those who don't know, I do know what it is, but can you explain what a mandala is?
Yeah, a mandala is literally the circle of life. It's a circular design that you start working from the inside and then to the outside. And every single time there's another outer circle, it's another layer for you to draw designs on. And it's just a way to focus on your breath. And focus on what you're drawing, and that way it takes all the attention away from everything else because you're so focused. And I've done this with kids in school who've got anxiety, ADHD, and all that kind of, anything where they need special needs. So I've done classes with little children in schools. And after a while, the teacher started noticing that they were calming down, and every single time they felt anxiety, they just pull a piece of paper and start drawing and coloring. And that's really what mandala drawing is all about.
Is it different? Sorry, Bhupi. Is it different to like just regular drawing and coloring?
Yeah, so when you're drawing a mandala, you have to focus, right? And even with it's similar to the coloring as well, but because you're drawing, you're moving your hands and everything. And like I've had class of like 20, and I'll say to them in the workshop, and I'll say, if you want to be touched or not touched, tell me now, because I'll come around when you're holding your breath. And they all started laughing. Yeah, not happening. And then within 2 minutes of the workshop starting, I'll see people holding their breath, and I'll go and I'll touch them, and they go, oh my God, I didn't even realize that I did that. But it's like, when we're so focused on doing something, we hold our breath. Yeah. And we don't allow all the oxygen to go in and out, and it doesn't calm ourselves. So it's one of the ways to calm your nervous system down as well. It really helps because you're breathing, and then during the class, I'll always say, okay, I need to take a deep breath in now, and then just release for 4, hold for 4. And it makes such a difference. And I've had people say to me afterwards, ever since I've started following that, it's made a huge difference, because now I don't get anxiety after I'm doing that, or after I've colored a book, or after I've colored a page or drawn something. And it's just a learning technique, because we've all done that. And I know I do that when I'm so focused on doing something, I just hold my breath without even realizing that I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think we all do that. We don't realize we're not very mindful of our own breathing, and we're quite shallow breath work as well, don't we? So it's only when you really take a deep breath and let go, you realize how much you're holding on to. So I think that's really important that you're talking about that.
Exactly. Yeah, no.
And was there a particular moment or life phase when your body or intuition began to speak louder than your mind?
Oh my God, probably my 50s, without a doubt. Yeah, I remember I was driving on the QEW. It's a really major highway, very, very busy. And I was about 20 minutes from home, out of nowhere, complete dizziness. Not what, like you get the dizziness when you stand up so really fast.
Yeah.
It wasn't that kind of thing. All of a sudden, I got really dizzy, and I couldn't even see what was in front of me. So I had to pull over. And then I ordered an Uber for my son to come and pick me up. And I was just 20 minutes from home. And I thought, oh, I'm just exhausted. And then I talked to my GP, and he said, oh, welcome to another menopause symptoms. And I didn't even realize it was a menopause symptom. It's like the inner ear is also losing estrogen. And my ears had a very strong opinion about that. And that was the moment I realized I'd been ignoring my body for years, decades and decades, actually. And suddenly I had no choice but to listen and get some help. And I think that's when I went to see the doctor, and he's like, okay, we got to find a new strategy for you. And because I can't take HRT, I had to find natural remedies to try and fix this. And it wasn't until I started energy healing that all of these symptoms started just disappearing.
So how old were you when you started the energy healing then, Bhupi?
I'd say probably about 3 or 4 years ago. But I didn't know it was called energy healing. Breathing through it, calming myself down. And I did Reiki for many, many years before that. And I couldn't practice on other people because I found I was taking other people's energy onto myself, and I'd feel so ill afterwards. So I stopped helping other people, and then just worked on myself. So I'd already been doing that for, oh my God, before Reiki became really big. So we're talking mid-90s. right? So I'd been doing Reiki since then. So yeah, so I'd always been doing the energy healing, and I just found that my hands are so, they get really, really hot when I'm doing any kind of healing. And then obviously, because I'd been doing Reiki and stuff, I just know how to take the energy out of my body. And if my kids were having an issue, I'd just do that. So just stand there, and then I would literally just go from the top of their head all the way down to their toes and just get rid of any energy that was bothering them. And that's how I've always done it. And it wasn't until a year ago that I actually learned how to remove emotions and blocks from your body. So everything I do comes from having lived it, right? So my separation, the divorce that started in 2018, let's not even go down that road because it's still going. I moved countries, a body I didn't recognize anymore. I have 2 adult children who are no longer speaking to me, and running on absolutely nothing but fumes and telling everybody else I was fine. So, so all my experiences have kind of shaped how I teach, and because I've lived through it, right? Because I know what it's like to be the capable one, the calm one, the one who holds everything together, and the fixer, the people, the one that everybody comes to. Hey, can you tell me what to do? How do I do this? So when women come to me and say they don't know who they are anymore, I completely understand. And I know it's not the end of something, but the beginning of something far more honest and bigger, because they've been suppressing themselves for so long and suppressing their feelings so much that they don't even know who they are anymore. And I've felt like that for probably the last 20 years.
Yeah. Which makes it even more powerful the way you've experienced it. So you're now able to go out and help other women going through it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. It's been a big page turner, actually, because you just don't realize how much our body stores, right?
Yeah, the body holds score, right? That's the famous book.
Yeah.
About how we're holding on to everything that we're not expressing. It has to come out somehow. And what happens if we don't express it? It's being stored in the body and we get sick. It's the disease that we're experiencing, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And we don't realize this until we're later on in life, when, we're empty nesters and we go, oh, and you've got time to breathe. And you go, what the hell happened over the last 20
Yeah,
years?
and who am I? I think, throughout that you lose your identity, don't you? When you get married, when you have children, you've got all these different hats you're playing. And as you said, as your kids get older, you start to have more time and you see who you are, what you actually want. You forget what you want.
Exactly. Yeah. We put everything on a shelf and deal with it later.
And that's, I think, what it is the midlife crisis where you see that women kind of wake up and say what's going on. And then, you actually express yourself, you say what it is that you want, when all the time you just be keeping the peace and keeping quiet. How would you describe the work you do in your own words and the essence of how it works when you work with your clients?
I work with the body's energy system,
Mm.
and literally I clear what's been stored in your body. And I know that sounds like I've just disappeared into woo-woo land, so I'm going to bring it back. And
You're in the right place, Bhupi.
I know. People just look at me strangely and go, what are you talking about? And it's really simple. It's science, it's biology, and it's physics, right? So it goes so far back to, like, Einstein and what he did. So it's not random, it's literally just science. So our bodies really don't do anything random. So, when you get the tight shoulders and the migraine and, the lower back pain that keeps coming up, that's our body telling us that we've got something stored and we haven't dealt with it. But we go, oh, it's just a backache. It's just this, it's just that. But what I do is I work at the level where, excuse me, I work at the level where that stored up crap actually happens, not through talking about it, not through thinking your way through it, because you can't think your way through it because nothing's going to happen, but through the energy system itself. Like, I use muscle testing, and I communicate directly with the body to find out what's being held and where, and then I clear the blocks. And here's the bit that still gets to me every single time. When I clear one area, everything starts to shift, right? So because everything is connected. Sometimes I'll get somebody saying they've got like really severe anxiety, and we start clearing the root of the anxiety, and suddenly their sleep improves, their relationships get easier. Everything is connected, not everything separately, but because the body system is, and we've cleared the root. So just like you would clear something on a tree, then all the branches start to respond, right? So you're feeding the tree the nutrients, and then it's not just the roots that are going to get those nutrients, it's everything else that's within the tree, the branches, the leaves, everything. So, and it's the same with our body. So if we look on a cellular level of what the body looks like and what the tree is, it's so similar, right? Like all the little veins that go everywhere, the branches, the everything, you know, our bodies, when you compare it to nature, it's literally almost the same. So right, so when you fix one thing, you fix something else at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you know, the same kind of thing with what I do in my work. We look at the root cause, we go to the bottom and pull it out as opposed to just putting a plaster on top because, you know, it's a bit like a whack-a-mole. You get rid of one, something else will come in its place, right? You need to really
Exactly.
go down and pull it out. And like you said, it's all interrelated. It's not in isolation. Yeah. And how does intuition guide your sessions and what role does listening to the body play in your approach?
I find muscle testing, as I mentioned before,
Yeah.
is how I listen to the body directly. It bypasses what we think is happening and then goes straight to the body, because that's where the answers are. The body always knows more than we do. The body recognizes things before our mind does. It's, you know, it's like your gut instinct, but turned really high up in frequency. So sometimes something will come up in a session with a client, you know, that she hasn't mentioned before, hasn't even thought about it, doesn't consciously connect to anything. And it's the right thing. And every time I've stopped being surprised by it because I've learned to trust. And now I don't question. So, for example, if that client sings or that I sing, which is really a bad idea because I honestly can't hold a note. But, you know, like I'll ask through muscle testing, what do we need to do? And sometimes the energy will say, you need to dance or you need to read. And then at first I thought it was really odd and really, really strange. But if that's what the body is telling me to do, that's what you have to do, right? And it sounds completely nuts and like, oh my God, this woman is like crazy. But honestly, if you do what the body tells you to do when we're clearing, it works.
So you're getting kind of like messages from the body when you're doing these the
Yes.
muscle testing, right? Okay.
Yes. So with muscle testing, it gives me a yes or no answer, right? So I'll go through muscle testing and then I'll go, okay, what do I need to do? Or what does she need to do? You know, let's say her name is Jane. What does Jane need to do? Does she need to dance? And I'll get a no. And then does she need to sing? No. Does she need to drink water? Yes. Right. So then I make right. So that's how the muscle testing works. I can't ask random questions and expect answers. But if I ask yes, no answers, we can get down to the nitty gritty, right down to the bottom of what the actual issue is and where the blocks are. And once you start removing those blocks, you know, you get you know, some women have said, oh my God, that felt so amazing. It's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
Mm. For those of, I mean, I've had kinesiology before, so I guess it's the same kind of thing with muscle testing. But for those women who haven't had any type of muscle testing, can you just briefly explain how that works? What's muscle
So
testing?
it's not like kinesiology muscle testing, you know, where they know that your leg is going to kick or whatever. So this is working with the body's energy, and then I get permission from the client to connect to their energy, and then we're both connected, and then, you know, I go, and then I'll ask, because you're all connected to the universe, right? This is where we're getting all the answers from. So it's your energy connected to the universe, and then I ask the questions. Okay. So I had somebody who asked me, why is her, you know, when is she going to start feeling calm again? Because she had PTSD. And,
Mm.
and that was the question I put out. And I said, are there any blocks preventing her from doing this? And the answer was yes. So I went through, I've got a chart of like 90 to 120 different types of blocks that a person can have in their system. And it's something very similar to what Dr. Bradley Nelson does. So I go through and I go, okay, is it on, let's take fear for an example. So that's in row 2. Is it in, and then I'll ask, is it in between rows 1 to 5 or 6 to 10? And that's how I get my answers. Yes, no, yes, no. And I use my fingers to do it. And I have to show you how it works, because then then my fingers will either, if it's a no, then my fingers spread apart. And if it's a yes, my fingers just don't move from that position. I know it sounds really bizarre, but honestly, there's a technique for doing this. And the first time I did this, I was like, wow, oh my God, I cannot believe this is so true. And I started reading up and reading Dr. Bradley's book a couple of years
What's the name
ago.
of his book? Because I haven't heard of him. His name is
It's called The Body Code.
Oh, I have heard of the Body Code. I didn't know the author, the Body Code. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
That's
it's called The Body Code. He's one of them is called the Emotion Code, and the other one's called The Body Code. The Body Code is like really in depth,
yeah.
and goes through every single element that you can possibly have. And the one about the emotions is literally every emotion that can get stuck in your body. So obviously he's a doctor, he's done so much research, and he's been using this for more than like 25, 30 years. And this is like before we even knew about it. So I started following him, I started reading the book, I started learning more, and that's how I really got into knowing all of this. And the first time I tried um, um, muscle testing, I was like blown away. And even when I do it with other people, they just like, oh my God, that really happened. And yes, it did. And then and they go, oh my God, you didn't even touch me to move me. So most of the ones when I do it with other people is through the sway method. So if the answer is a yes, you move, your body automatically moves forward. If it's a no, your body moves back. Right? And that's called the sway method. There's loads and loads of methods. I just found one that works for me.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. It's really fascinating how it works. But I guess it's the same when with hypnosis, we have like the IMR movements, idiomotor responses. So when we communicate, when we do the therapy session, the hand moves in reply to questions. So I guess it's the same kind of concept, the body and the mind, right? That
Yes.
relation. And
Yeah.
when your
Yeah.
case, it's the energy. Well, when I first saw it, I also thought it was magic. I thought, what's going on? I didn't really believe it until I experienced it myself. So, yeah, it's amazing
Yeah.
what the body does and the connection we all have. It's all kind of interrelated.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Our mind is just unbelievable, unbelievable what our
So
mind and our bodies
powerful.
can do.
Yeah. And it's like you said, it's there's a different level to it. It's being connected to the universe. I think we forget all of that, and that's how we block ourselves, you know.
Yes. Yeah. We're just so busy doing our everyday, we forget
Mm,
about everything else, and we just go into we sorry, how can I explain it? It's like waking up in the morning, the first thing you're
mm.
gonna do is go and brush your teeth and go
Yeah.
put the coffee
Autopilot, yeah.
on, and
Hmm.
it's just automatic without even thinking about it.
Yeah. I know. I think, but we also forget that we are, spiritual beings at the end of the day, living, in these vessels, these human vessels. But ultimately, we're all spiritual, and that's how we should be leading our lives. But we forget because we get stuck in the traps of every day,
Yes.
and I think that's so important in this point of our lives. A lot of us do kind of wake up and see there's more to it than how we're living.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I find
Yeah.
the older you get, the more you start to think in that matter, only because you've got the time now. Whereas before you're so busy dealing with the kids, the baby, the kid, every single part of your life with children is just so busy until they
Yeah.
start to, do things by themselves. But even when they're adults, you're still running around after them, and they
Well, I
call.
was going to say,
Yeah.
my kids are a lot older and I've had a lot, I think there's just that point in my life when I'm starting to question a lot of things and seeing things in a different way as well, when you
Yes.
get to that age.
Oh, yes. I
Life.
know. I know. I don't like
Um,
using that word, that age.
I know, but I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It's like at that point in our lives when we
Yes.
really see more than what we've seen up until now. It's quite
Yes, because we've,
superficial.
yeah,
Mm,
only because our focus has been somewhere else, you know.
yeah.
Um, and I find that we've all grown up with, being Indian, it's always been education. Your education is really important.
Mm,
So you go through school, high school, you focus on your grades, make sure you get the top grades. Then you've got to go to university. After university, you've got to,
mm.
start your career. And, everything has already been pre-done for us. And it's not until we get older, we go, oh, hold on a minute. I don't
Oh, I
want to do
want
this
this.
anymore.
Yeah.
Why am I a hamster on a wheel? And
Well,
that's how I
that's it.
felt most of my
Mm.
life was.
But that's it. It's like you said, I think that's a very cultural thing. And it's also this whole people pleasing in general as women. We by default we do that. And
Oh
it's
my
like being the
gosh, yes.
carers and trying to make everyone happy and we forget our own needs. And I think that's what it is. That's why we have these explosions when we just had enough.
Yes, yes.
I think going back to that about just living the stressful life, how does the nervous system regulation show up in your work? Because a lot of us, we have a lot of stress, there's hypervigilance. How do you see that in your work?
Oh my gosh. You know what? Our nervous system is at the center of everything. And I
Mm,
find that most of the women that I work with have been running on really high cortisol for years. And that includes myself. Honestly, I have to put my hand up and say, yes, that was me too. And sometimes it's been for decades, right? And our
yeah.
nervous system has been in survival mode for so long that it becomes our baseline because we don't know how else to figure things out. We work on that stress and it becomes the normal when it shouldn't be the normal. And
Mm,
the problem is you can't heal from that state, right? You've got, excuse me, somebody's at the door, so the dog's gone nuts. I apologize. So the problem is you can't heal from that state. The high cortisol affects our sleep, our digestion, our mood, our energy, our hormones. And then as we get older, it gets worse because the hormonal buffer that used to help regulate the nervous system starts to shift and it really starts to decline because honestly, our buffer is estrogen, right? So the first thing I do is I calm the nervous system, not by talking about it, but by actually working with it. So when it settles, everything else becomes possible. So sleep improves, digestion improves, and then the emotional reaction that we have starts to ease. So you're not crying, screaming, and acting like a crazy person all the time. And that's when the body finally starts to feel safe again. Because until your body starts to feel safe, not in our mind, but the body itself, until it starts to feel safe, it's not going to
mm,
calm down,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm,
And when we start running on adrenaline and stress and everything else, our body cannot heal because it's like on a, how can I put it? It's on like a really high energy, like a rubber band. It's been
yeah.
stretching and stretching to its limits. And that's what happens.
So how many
So,
sessions do your clients need in order to have that safety in their body
you
to
know what?
feel?
Everybody is
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be, you know, the first session.
Hmm.
And we've done the first session and then I don't see them for maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but their body starts to, once we've started working and removing some blocks and using some other tools, their body starts to calm down. And it may not be immediate, it may be 2 days later or a week later, right? Because you've just removed something that's been really bothering your body, and you're removing something that's been there for years and years. So when it holds on to that, it can take days, a week, maybe a month for it to start doing it. But it doesn't mean that I've only done, I may have only done the one session. And sometimes it can take 2, 3 sessions over a couple of months for everything to start working back again. You've got to realize that the body's been holding on to this for years and years. So sometimes it can take, weeks and months for everything to start easing away, because you're pulling layer by layer, right? You're literally taking each layer and pulling it down and pulling it down. And it's not until you get right down to the bottom and you go, oh my God, that's when the client feels it. And even when I had my very first session, I was shocked by obviously the muscle testing, but it wasn't until months later, everything started to click into place. My back pain disappeared and my migraines disappeared and all of those kinds of things. So it's not something that you're going to find straight away. You feel a shift straight away, but it's not something that's going to happen immediately. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So another question I have, so you remove these blocks and over time, you feel a shift, but do the blocks come back? So you do this work to get rid of the blocks, but have you seen clients get the blocks back in the place or different blocks?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Some of them can come back and not related to the initial symptom that it had. Yeah. So, you can get triggered, right, one day and one of the blocks may come back. But it's, one of those things that you just keep going and going, and then slowly you start to remove the blocks. Like I remove blocks, like for myself, I'm going to give you an example. I removed blocks like maybe, 5 months ago, and then one or two of them will come back because something has triggered me somewhere along the line. And I haven't even noticed, but my body notices, and then it starts to hold on. And the minute I know my shoulders start getting stiff, I know that something's not right. And then I go back and I start looking at what's actually happening. And that's when I know, okay, that block's come back. But it's very rare that, so the first time I removed blocks for myself, I think it was 20 blocks. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is never going to end. But now I'll get like maybe 3 or 4 every, couple of months or a couple of weeks. But I work on myself every single day because it's so important to me that I start healing my body from the inside out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. It's like a spring clean.
It is. It's like a literal spring clean, right? It's like cleaning out your gut. But, every now and again you eat something and then your gut reacts and you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But sometimes it's an emotion, a trigger that you see something and you don't even realize it's triggering you.
Because when you describe it, it kind of reminds me of, like, I do believe in like feng shui and clutter, how clutter blocks energy. So what you're describing, what you do is like the same kind of thing. You're clearing that out in the body because that's also blocking the energy, isn't it, to flow properly?
Yes, exactly. So if one part of your body isn't functioning properly, the rest of it is not going to work efficiently and, the way that it's supposed to be designed to work.
Yeah. Allowing the energy to flow freely through the body, right?
Exactly.
Interesting. And so why does midlife so often invite deeper embodiment and inner listening?
Because we've got time.
Yeah.
Because we've got time. It's really simple. The estrogen in our body slows down. And that, as I mentioned before, was our major buffer. And then our body stops tolerating being ignored. And then something about this particular part of a woman's life makes it impossible to stop brushing things under the carpet. And as women, we do that so much. Oh, I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it later.
Being the peacekeeper, Bhupi, is easier sometimes just to keep quiet and then, like you said, brush under the carpet.
And that's what builds up resentment, right? And you go, oh my God, I can't deal with this anymore. So, and because the estrogen isn't there anymore, that's why we suddenly can't take the nonsense we used to put up with. Like I couldn't take HRT, so it was even more intense for me, right? So most of our lives we're overridden by signals, right? We're pushed through tiredness. We swallow all that frustration and we just keep going because there's always someone who needs us. And then we arrive at menopause and all our strategies that we used before, they just stop working because our hormones shift. and the body's ability to buffer the stress changes. And that's what we've got to remember, that the way we used to handle stress in our 30s and 40s is not the way we handle stress in our, like late 40s, early 50s. And suddenly you can't push your way through it. And then the weight of everything you've been carrying becomes impossible, and you just can't pretend anymore. And then, the emotions, the thousands of them all coming at once, right? And I'm prime example, right? I've got tears, joy, rage, grief, all flooding through all at the same time. And it's just overwhelming. And, I've been holding resentment and anger for so long. And when they finally came, I couldn't stop them. And the worst thing is, like, my boys were teenagers and I was going through so many hormonal changes. Can you imagine how insane it was? A complete madhouse. They said, "Oh my God, Mom, I'm sure you've been taken over by an alien, because you were such a nice person and loving mom, and now you're angry and crying and you don't even know what you're doing most of the time," right? So
Yeah.
um
It's scary though. It is scary when you're
it
experiencing all
is.
of that and not knowing what's happening.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think most of us experience it as something going wrong, right? But
Mm,
when our body does that to us and we start crying and screaming and everything all at the same time, that's your body telling you, hey, you've got to get some help. You need some
mm,
support here. Stop trying to do everything yourself, right? Like, I've
mm.
done it all, right? I've read the books, I've listened to the podcasts, I've done everything. And I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do. Okay, she said I have to do this. And next I have to do that. I've done it all. And nothing works until you start taking a breath and slow
Mhm.
down and realize that your body has changed in so many ways, that the way, and this is the big one, the way you used to handle stress is not normal, and it's not going to work anymore, right? And
Mhm.
your nervous system has reached its maximum capacity, and then it just explodes.
Yeah. So how can your work support women who are navigating perimenopause and menopause and identity shifts or relationship changes?
Mostly at the level where other approaches don't reach, right? So you'll
Mhm.
get HRT and whatever, and then one day you forget to put that little dab of cream or whatever, the pill that you've forgotten, and then you start feeling all out of reach. But you can understand your hormones really intellectually. You know what the right things to do and all that stuff, but you still feel stuck, right? You can be taking the HRT, you can be regulating your nervous system, but because the blocks are still in your body and in your thinking, we don't even know that the blocks are there. Like, I didn't even know there was a thing called a block in your body, right? In
Mm.
your energy system, and it's in patterns. It's been deciphered that it's happened in the patterns that were laid down or from when you were a kid, and you've just been
Mhm.
running on that show without permission, and then there's nothing you can do about it. So when we start clearing those blocks at that level, things start shifting that you didn't expect to shift, right? Old
Mhm.
reactions that haven't moved in years suddenly kind of get loose. Your exhaustion eases, your relationships that you felt so stuck in start to move forward. I'll give you an example. I had one client who hadn't slept in 15 years since
Wow.
menopause started. And then we moved some energy blocks from her. And then she sent me a message about a week or two later, Bhupi, I've started sleeping through the night. But what we did was we cleared the energy blocks from her body, but also from her house. She was
Mm.
divorced, but all the energy from the fighting and everything else from when they were living in the house was still within the house, right? Your
Yeah.
house and your beds and your mattresses. I know it sounds bizarre, but they all
No, it
hold
doesn't.
energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely believe that.
Yeah. So, and this is the one thing. So when I start doing work like this, it
Mm.
makes me even more like, everything's connected. So when you start clearing one area of your life, it's like a ripple effect,
Yeah.
right? And then it
Mm.
touches relationships, with your work colleagues, or even your work, your friends, your family, and also your relationship with money. Most of us don't realize how deeply everything is connected until we
Mm.
really dig deep and start thinking about it and go, oh my God, this is way deeper than you thought.
Yeah, no, it's true that what you're saying it's all connected. And there's one of my friends actually, she was going through a separation, and I actually I believe that all stuff linked to the past should be taken out. It's the
Yeah.
energy, right? It's all the connection. And I heard someone said about mirrors also. Mirrors apparently very bad, like to have from pre-owned. Is that right?
That's what I've heard, but again, like you buy anything secondhand, even if you buy
Mm,
brand new, it's got energy, right? So
yeah.
let's say you're buying a new armchair. Okay,
Hmm.
that armchair, the fabric came from somewhere else, the bits and bolts and stuff came from somewhere else, and they've all got to be made, like physically
Mm,
made. So, if someone's having a really, really bad week and they're like really down in the dumps, when they're making that tool or,
mm,
sewing that leather or sewing that fabric, all their feelings are in that fabric. And, so let's
true.
say an
Mm,
armchair, it takes like 150 people, right, to build all the little parts, right, before
mm,
they even get to the factory. So then the people in the factory, there's probably 20 people in the factory who build the top part, the bottom part, and all the different parts of the armchair. And then you've got your drivers that bring it to your house. So it may be brand
mm,
new, but it's still got energy in it,
mm-hmm,
right? Because it's all those people that have touched it. And it's the touch where where your fingers have like billions and billions of little nerve endings, and whatever you're feeling is through and when you express anything, it's your hands, you're touching
mm,
things, that's where the energy gets stuck. So when you buy antiques or you buy mirrors or you buy anything that's been that's secondhand, it's got history, and all of that history, some of it may be amazing, some of it may be absolutely awful, like buying stuff from somebody who's passed away. They may have had such happy glorious years, but towards the end they got sick. So all of
mm,
those energies are going to stay in that furniture because he's sat on it, he's used it, or she's used it. And that's what makes this work really interesting, because you just don't know where the blocks are. And when I cleared the blocks in this lady's house, um, they were from her marriage, they were from previous owners, and
mm,
even people that visited her house. So, she had all this bad mojo from her ex-in-laws. So all of that
mm,
stuff just, it's like it just stuck in that house until you
yeah,
start to clear it. And if you don't have any person who can help you with the energy clearing, the best way to do it is just open all your windows and doors, and just
yeah.
letting the fresh air through, just
I'm a big
breathe.
fan of opening windows. I think it's great to get all the bad energy out as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. And and some people are, oh, it's cold. And I said, no, you
Mm,
need to let the energy flow through, because the wind
mm,
will just take some of that, energy with it.
mm.
It may not clear all of it, but it will help.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to because I know that you mentioned earlier in the conversation that you weren't able to take HRT. I mean, I don't take HRT either, but I mean, what did you use? Was it just energy work that helped you through
I had
the?
to
Mhm,
find natural ways to
mhm.
deal with it. Some people take, I think it's called black cohosh or something like that. It's called.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but what worked for me was organic sage. Um, so I took organic sage pills to calm the hot flashes and all of that.
Mm,
But at the same time, I was doing Reiki and I was doing energy work, because all the feelings that I had, the rage, the all of that, it was all from, a resentment I'd been holding, and anger I'd been just, like you just push it down and you go,
yep.
I'll do it later. And it was
Yeah.
all of that coming up for me over and over and over again. And the only way I could find release was to actually release the blocks, the energy blocks. And one of the blocks that I released was hereditary. And it was on my dad's side of the family, and all male, going back 947 generations,
Wow. Okay.
right? So everything is, like people go, nah, no way. But I'm like, everything is connected. So another example of that would be, let's say, before you were conceived or while you were conceived, the minute the egg touches the the sperm touches the egg or whatever, and your parents had like a major fight through, and they're just this is like make-up sex, let's put it that way, right? So the minute you were conceived, all those feelings of anger and everything else are still there. So you inherit those, right? You can inherit those. And if it's at the time that you were conceived, like at that very second, guess what? They're going to be with you from the minute you're born.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do believe in that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and nothing shocks me anymore, like I'll still go, oh my God, wow. But nothing shocks me anymore when I do this work, because I find so many strange things, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? That can happen. That's real. That's real. So I
Well, it
just kind of
is.
laugh about it and get on with it, right? But
Yeah.
one of the things I find that women don't do is prioritize their self-care.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Right? And when you start prioritizing yourself, it's really not a luxury, right? So when we talk about self-care, it's not about going to the spa and having a luxury spa day, right? It's
Although
not.
that's nice.
Yes, exactly. It's
Yeah.
very nice. Yeah, who doesn't love a bit of luxury? But it's about taking that moment for yourself and sitting down, your first cup of tea. Like I like to wake up before I know that my cat needs food, or, my dog
Yeah.
needs to be taken for a walk. So I'll go and I'll make myself a cup of tea, and I know I can have that tea in peace and quiet, right? With no disturbance. I can listen to the birds outside. I can do that. And for me, that is my moment of self-care.
Yeah,
Right?
making time for yourself. I think that's a very important point. Yeah.
Yeah. And and I keep saying this to people over and over again. Self-care is not a luxury. It's actually a necessity. If you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you afterwards? Right?
Well,
There's only
this is
you.
it. Yeah. And I think, sorry to interrupt, Bobby, but it reminds me of this analogy I have, like of a luxury car, a beautiful, sparkling car, like beautifully, it's got nice interior and everything. If you don't regularly maintain that car, give it oil and water, it's just going to break down. And that's what we're like, I think. We just forget, like, we need to be taken care of as well. Otherwise, we're running on empty.
Yeah, all the time, all the time. I would say 90% of the women that I meet are running on empty, because they've gone to the point where they just can't breathe, and their bodies are just like, like they feel, like curled up in a ball, their shoulders are down, and they've just got, I look at them
Got
and I
nothing
go,
else to give. Yeah.
yeah. And I've always said this to everybody, even, my kids, if you don't love yourself and you can't find a way to love yourself, how on earth are you going to expect that others will love you? And this is so simple, but it's so deep, because and I find a lot of women go, once I'm married, I'll be happy with my partner. He'll make me happy. But no, it should always be you that's trying to make you happy, not somebody else, because later on in life, you're going to go, oh my God, why did I let this happen? And it doesn't sink in until we're older, right?
Yeah, so
And
true.
I find that's one of the biggest things that women let go of. I'll be happy because my partner's going to make me happy. No, they're not.
Yeah, allowing someone
Everyone's
else to dictate how happy you are, that's the biggest mistake, right? Because
Yeah,
they can
it
also
is.
dictate
It
when you're
is.
unhappy as well.
Yeah. So
Mm,
that's when, like when you start getting into menopause, that's when your relationship with yourself changes, because you
yeah.
realize you've given so much,
Mm,
and there's like, phew, nothing left in you to give
yeah.
anymore, right? And
Yeah.
that's when you wish you'd taken time out for yourself. So that's why when my kids were growing up and I said, you need to start taking care of yourself, right? Because nobody else is
Yeah.
going to do it for you. And they go, but
Yeah,
mom, you're here for us. And I'm like, no, I'm not really. You're going to go
mm,
away to university or college or whatever. Who's going to take care of you then? It's not going to be me.
Yeah, I know. I think we try to do too much. And also, I think it's important that our kids also have some independence as well. But
Exactly.
it's, yeah. So what would you
Well,
say to a woman who feels it may be too late to change direction?
I've got a perfect answer. So
So,
I'd say to her, when did she decide that breathing and being alive meant it was too late, right? Like,
yeah.
you're still breathing, you've still got life in you. Why do you
Mm,
think you can't work, right?
mm,
Um, so, like, just to give you an example, right? Like, I'm in my late 50s. I moved countries last year. I'm rebuilding my life from scratch, right? Like, I've left my big communities and everything. But within that time, I found my work, I found my purpose. And honestly, I found it through all the crap that I've gone through over the last 5, 10 years. And
mm,
it's not despite everything that's happened, it's because of it. Because I
mm.
wouldn't be on this journey if I hadn't, hit rock bottom and had a breakdown in my bedroom, crying and screaming like a child. But it's because of all of this that I've gone through that that I can help women now, right?
Mm,
Despite, I mean, I'm not saying my whole life was bad. It wasn't. It was amazing. I've had an incredible life. But I
yeah.
find the women who I work with in their 50s, 60s, and 70s are some of the most alive, most honest, most clear-eyed people I've ever met in my life, because they've stopped performing, right? And they've started being real. And
In
it's
your
never
authentic
too
self,
late.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and it's never ever too late to work on yourself, because honestly, with medical breakthroughs and stuff, we're living longer and longer. And
Mm,
people aren't dying in their 60s anymore. We're living up to like 80s and 90s now. So
yeah.
you've got to put that focus on yourself. You've got to take care of yourself, because if you don't, you know
Mm,
life is too short. And I find that, when I have my clients in their 30s and 20s and whatever, and I say to them, life is really short. Oh no, I'm going to live till I'm 90. I've still got 50 years to go. And I said, but if you don't start working on yourself now, by the time you get
mm.
there, you're going to be exhausted.
Yeah, and it's
And I
about
think,
really living. I think, it's one thing like living to your 90, but if you're not being your true self, being who you are, that's not really living though, is
no,
it?
it's
So,
not. It's not. You're just doing your daily chores and going, okay,
mm,
that's another day done. And then you're
yeah,
like,
just
okay,
it's a
what do I do
countdown, isn't it?
next?
It's a
Yeah,
countdown till death, basically.
I
It's
know, I know. Like, what are you counting down till,
yeah.
whatever? And then, one of the biggest things that I learned, through COVID, and I know this was 5 years ago, but mentally, it's still affecting a lot of people and physically. And
Mm,
one of the things that I've learned through COVID is that life is really too short to be wasted. I saw
mm,
so many people pass away, like so many young people pass away. And I'm like, oh my God. And it really taught me that you shouldn't waste your life,
mm.
and
Yeah.
you shouldn't treat yourself like anything. You should treat yourself like you're the king and queen, like you're the energy, like wear a crown and say, I'm the queen of my energy, right? And
Absolutely.
that's
And
the only
yeah.
way to think forward, because it doesn't matter what circumstances brought you to where you are now, but
Mm.
stop wasting your life.
Yeah, because again, I think another important thing is we don't know how long we have. My mum passed away very suddenly at the age of 58. We
Oh
had
my
no
gosh,
idea
that's
she was
young.
gone. It was very young.
Yeah.
I'm now 49 and thinking that
Mm.
she didn't live that much longer, but it was unexpected. So we don't know how many years we have. Life is very precious, and it's about how
Yes.
you're enjoying your life, being who you are, living your truth, not living someone else's, version that they want you to be. So I think that's what's so powerful about this point in our life as well.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And
So,
and this is what it all boils down to, is that you are important, right? You are really important. And I found women where they've been suppressed, they've been in a really toxic narcissistic relationship, and they feel that they have no worth,
yeah.
because that's what they've been taught for all these years. And it's just, again, it's like peeling an onion, right? You take all the nasty away slowly and slowly until you come back and you go, oh my God, there is so much to live for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm so excited that you're going to be joining us in June at the retreat, Bhupi, on the
Oh, I'm so
Sunday.
excited too.
Can you share a bit about what you'll be offering at the June retreat, what you'll be doing with the energy?
Again, it's going to be working with the whole group on their nervous system regulation and energy clearing. And it's going to be live in a room. And it's a really different experience from working with somebody on a one-to-one, on a group, on a screen. Because when you're in person, you feel the energy in everyone. So when one person feels a shift, everybody else does too, right? So the whole field changes. Women who came in braced and defended, and this is not going to work. I don't know what this is about, blah, and they've got that negativity and they've already got their defenses up. They start to soften a little from just being in that environment of sharing everybody's energy.
Yeah, that sounds really powerful. I've got like tingles when you're describing that.
Yeah, you can't get down to like the nitty-gritty when you're in a group, but you can change the whole energy, the way that everybody's shifting. And oh my God, it's such an amazing experience. And my fingers tingle for like hours and hours after it.
Can imagine. And so what intentions do you hope most women will carry with them after your session?
To be honest, I really want them to feel something. And we went through this, a couple of minutes ago. So some women will feel an immediate shift in their body, like a release of tension that they didn't even know they had. Some get emotional, some start crying because, something has triggered in them and they just feel lighter. And then I get others who send me messages the next day to say that their sleep was different or something that's been bothering them for years is just not, how can I put it, landed in the same way. And then others might feel it in a week or longer. I can't predict what's going to happen for each person, but something always shifts. That I know, right? That I can guarantee that there'll always be a shift and you'll feel it in the energy of the room.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to your session, Pippi. And do you have a kind of a tip that you can give our listeners today on that they can use by themselves to kind of like shift their energy?
Oh my gosh, yes. So the first thing that I would do is this is the best way to regulate your nervous system is to stand up, close your eyes, and you can do this in the house, you can do it outside, wherever you feel comfortable, but
I'm going to try and
without
do this
shoes.
now, Pippi. I'll be
Sorry?
doing this now. Can I sit down while I'm doing it? I always like to
Yeah,
try
of
out
course you
these
can. Yeah.
tips.
Just make sure that your feet are flat on the floor and you're not
Okay.
wearing shoes or socks, right? Because you want to feel, you want to
Without my
ground yourself.
socks? Did you say Bhupi no socks on?
Yeah.
Okay, let me take my socks off one sec. It's just a bit cold in the house.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
Just for a moment, I promise.
Okay.
Okay. And then I want you to close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to focus on yourself. And I want you to take a really deep breath. And I'm going to count you in and count you out. I want you to take a really deep breath in all the way through your nose. Feel it going all the way down your rib cage into your abdomen and hold that breath for 4 counts. So I'm going to count you down 4, 3, 2, and 1. And now I want you to release it really slowly to the count of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And now I want you to put your hands on your heart and I want you to repeat that. So we're going to do it again. So take a deep breath in all the way through your nose, all the way down your throat. And you can feel it going through your chest, down your abdomen, all the way down to your belly. And hold it there for 3, 2, 1. And now release for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And if you just keep doing that 3 or 4 times, your nervous system starts to calm and you start feeling grounded and you feel calm. And once your nervous system starts calming down, you start calming down and you can think a little bit more clearly. How do you feel now?
Relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you do that 3 or 4 times, it really calms your nervous system down. It really does. And it's the only way to do it, because you've got to make space for that breath, and you've got to make space just to stay focused and ground your feet.
Yeah, love that. Thank you, Bhupi.
No
And
worries.
then the last few questions I have, I always like to ask my guests, what's lighting you up most in your work at the moment?
Oh my gosh, I've got to share this because what I'm doing right now is I've got a 2-week midlife show that I'm not a show, a course that I'm starting. And I've called it the Midlife Reset. It's a free
I know, I'm on
2-week.
it. I joined it, haven't I, Bhupi?
Yes, you have. It's a free 2-week life experience for
Yeah.
women to start clearing what's been stored. It's calming the nervous system and actually start feeling like yourselves again. And for me, it's like women showing up for themselves, sometimes for the first time, and then watching a shift in the first session. And that, for me, that never gets old. And I really want to help women. And, you know, I've got so many case studies where I know what I do works, and I just want to share it with as many people as I possibly can in like an environment that is safe.
Yeah. Remind me when it's starting, Bhupi, the course?
It's starting on the 18th of April, which is actually 3 weeks today. Yay!
18th of
3 weeks
April,
today.
okay.
Yep. And it's going to be for about an hour and a half for 5 days each week. And we cover so much. So, you know, from your nervous system to your body, to your relationships with people and everything, and money. Because if you have a really awful relationship with money, right, it affects the rest of your life. It affects every factor of your life. Because without money, we can't exist in this world.
Yeah,
right?
that's very true.
Right. So we can work on our bodies, we can do everything that we possibly can. But if our focus is on the lack, guess what? It's not going to happen, and you're still going to be stressed about it. And sometimes these patterns aren't from you. It could be from an event that happened when you were a child. Right. So I find those shifts happen slowly, but when they do, it's like I see people's eyes, they're like, you know, start, oh my God, it's like the light bulb moment. And when I see those light bulb moments, oh my God, it just makes me so happy that I've made a difference in somebody's life, that, you know, they can now take their energy and move forward.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so I'll put the details of that course in the show notes, so anyone who's interested can join that.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. And what's your body or intuition been teaching you lately?
Oh my gosh. You know what? And this is something, again, a lot of women do. That rest is productive, right? Slowing down is not falling behind your schedule or, you know, whatever you've got on your to-do list. Your to-do list gets bigger and bigger every day, but you've got to make time for rest. If your mind and your body aren't rested, you're not going to get very far, right? Because you're going to start running on fumes. And my dog and my cat are prime examples, right? And I use them all the time, and people just go, oh my God, she's crazy, she's comparing us to animals. And I'm not. They always know when something needs attention, right? And it sounds crazy, but I'm working on being more like them, because during my really, really tough times over the last 3 years, and I've sat down and I've gone, oh my God, how did I get here? And I wouldn't have survived without them, because they know that I'm feeling something, and they'll come, they'll sit right next to me, or they'll sit in my lap. And then just having them there, right? It's like my nervous system support. So it's like learning to live and know that, your body needs rest, your mind needs rest, because you've been working yourself to the bone for so long. You can't function like a normal person anymore, if there is a normal anymore. But because we've got so many things at our hands, like social media and our phones, the smartphones and all of these things, I find, yes, they're a great asset. But when I look at how it was before we got all of this, I felt my life was more restful and more appreciative. And now we're so busy looking at our phones that we don't appreciate the really, really good things of life.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah,
it's very hard to stay present when we're constantly switched on.
Exactly. And we can't switch off because our phones are constantly binging, right? Oh God, there's a notification. And I remember the days when your work stayed at work and didn't come home with you, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about it. But now your boss can ping you at home, at 9 o'clock at night, and you're like, seriously, I don't need this shit right now. And then you're taking all the stress of work just before bedtime. And I speak because a lot of us live this life.
But first thing before bedtime, but also first thing in the morning, a lot of my clients, they always just check their phone as soon as they wake up. Notifications, your emails,
Exactly.
social media.
It's the last thing you should be touching is your phone. And that's on your way out.
Before bed, and when you wake up, there's the worst times to be on the phone, really.
No, exactly. Yeah. And it's not good for our sleep patterns either, because when you're focusing on that blue light of the phone, it doesn't matter how many things you put in front of it, that affects your deep sleep rhythm, right? They're scientifically proving all these things. Like, what was it last week? There was a study that was done that, kids under the age of 5 shouldn't be given cell phones. But I look at, as I'm walking the dog, I see women, like young women in their 20s, and they've got a cell phone that they've given to their toddler, right? And you don't know how many hours they're going to use that for. It affects their brain. It affects the way they can logically think. It affects their creativeness. It affects their growth. So, and it's all coming out now. And then people are going, oh my God, that explains so much. And I'm like, yeah, these things are not meant to be our best friend. We didn't have these, like thousands of years ago. That's why we survived. But now we've got so much stuff that's just being thrown at us. We don't have time to calm down and just chill.
Yeah, that's so
and
true.
Relax.
Yeah. And what does living as your limitless self mean to you right now, Bhupi?
You know what? Choosing myself without guilt, because I've lived my whole life feeling guilty. Oh, if I buy something for myself, then I can't buy this for this kid, or I can't do that. We've always put everybody else first. And for the first time in my life, I feel that I'm not being selfish by taking care of my own needs.
Yeah.
Right. And when I'm, like, if I want that coffee, you know what, I'm going to go and buy it. I don't feel guilty that, I don't deserve it. I do deserve that, because I've worked so hard all my life. And now I'm looking at it, and I've gone without. Now I'm not going to go without. Right.
Yeah.
And I need to stop apologizing for literally being here, for existing.
Yeah, so true.
And one of the other things I've learned through slowing down and putting myself first and not feeling selfish about it is I've created boundaries. And women, we don't do that, right? We don't keep boundaries. And when we don't have boundaries, we let all the toxic people tell us what we need to do. And those people are toxic because they've got their own battles to deal with. But instead of dealing with them, they put the onus on you and make you feel really bad. So, and I'm done. I said, that's it. I'm done. I don't want any of these people in my life anymore. So slowly, I've just stopped talking to them and just getting in contact with them. And honestly, as you mentioned, the people pleasing, it's all gone. I just don't do that anymore, because it made me feel that I wasn't enough and I wasn't capable, and it made me feel really, really bad and ugly. And I just went, okay, I'm done with this. So
But I
now
think, yeah, you choose who you're around. I think that's quite powerful as well, choosing your
it is,
company.
and we don't, as women, we're just like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll come out with you. And there's three people that you don't get on with, and you don't like them,
Mm,
and you don't like their energy, then just don't
mm,
go. Like,
yeah,
simple, honestly, just don't go. And
yeah.
I've done that so many times now, and I feel it's really changed, like, the way my brain is wired. I know it
Hmm.
sounds crazy, but it's really changed the way my brain is wired, because I can't handle those toxic people anymore. And they make me feel bad when I'm with them. And why would I want to do that? Why would you want to do that to
Well,
yourself?
exactly. Well, that's
Right.
exactly it. Right. Yeah, no,
So,
thank you. Yeah,
so now I say to everybody, be selfish and start putting yourself first, because
hmm,
this is when you need to do it.
exactly. Yes. Thank you, Bhupi. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. But before I let you go, just let the listeners know how else they can reach you. So you mentioned you had that workshop that's happening on the 18th of April.
Yes.
How else can they reach you? What's the best way of
Um,
contacting
through my social media.
you?
So either Facebook, or you can join my Facebook group, or Instagram. It's really easy to find me. So if you just search for Bhupi Panesar, and I'll send you all the details, and then it's really easy
In
to
the
find
show
me.
notes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bhupi, for joining. I look forward to welcoming you to the retreat in June. I'll see you then.
Yeah. And I'm so excited to be there. I really am.
Yeah.
And thank you for having me on this podcast, because it really means a lot. Because honestly, I just want to help people. That's all I want to
Yeah.
do.
No, it's great. It's great because you've been through it so you can help others. So thank you again, Bhupi, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Hot Flashes and Higher Self. And if something in today's episode spoke to you and you're feeling ready for deeper support, then you can book a one-to-one session with me. I work with women around the world to help them shift from stuck to self-led. And if you're craving real connection, movement, rest, and reset, then check out the women's retreats I host. They're a beautiful mix of healing, hot yoga, incredible food, and soul-deep conversations and connections. And you can find all the details at www.ls-therapy.com, or come hang out with me on Instagram at Limitless Self Therapy. And you can also reach me directly anytime at soraya@lstherapy.com. I'd love to connect. Take care of you, fill that cup of yours, and remember, your next chapter is already unfolding.